Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to In the Buff. I'm Zach. This is Rob, and it has been several weeks since we were last here. Survivor Millennials versus Gen X is over, and we have a new cast as of yesterday for season 34, Survivor Game Changers, the Nunavik Islands, and that's what we're here to talk about. What just real briefly, Rob, what do you make of this cast as a whole?
A lot of tough players, or serious.
Tough players.
Yeah, tough players, serious players.
There's a lot of big names, and
it might as well be I mean, they're calling it Game Changers, but it's really like all stars in many ways.
It is basically all stars, and I think pretty much any season with all returning players can be considered all stars.
Jeff tried to qualify it by these are all, or what was it in that video, or he said something about let me qualify what a game changer is.
Yeah, somebody who's not necessarily who has made a move and has changed the game, but somebody who's willing to put themselves out there and try to make that move.
For the most part, with most of them, is pretty true. But there's a couple people that I was like, "Who are these people?" I don't remember them all.
Yeah, they're
one particular, but we'll get to her.
Okay. So, the theme when it was first leaked back in June, I saw it and I'm like, that's terrible. That is a terrible name. And then I saw the cast and I'm like, this is a good cast.
I think it's a great cast.
But the name's terrible.
I think it's a great cast. It's like some of my favorite players ever.
It's gonna. Don't get me wrong. This is gonna be an excellent season of Survivor. And I'm so grateful that we have Survivor to fangirl over on a daily basis.
Are you a
which I do.
Are you a fangirl? Yeah, you've totally been fangirling.
I have.
Have you yet? Ordered it? Is it ready? Is it?
The new buffs. The new buffs will be available on the 20th, which is a Monday, 2 Mondays from now. So yeah, that's where we are on buffs. I've been trying to find leaked images of the buffs because.
No, wait. I think you've already tweeted or something. Well, there's at least blue buffs, right?
Yeah, we know that the tribes. Let me clarify that a little further. I've been looking for images of the full buffs. There's been some images. The images online of the cast, especially the tribe photos. You get a decent feel for the color of the buffs. But not really the full design. And so that's what I've been looking for. But yeah, the Mana tribe is a dark shade of brick red, and the Nuku tribe is kind of a midnight blue, which I absolutely love because we haven't really had a blue buff that was this dark, I don't think. And I would be the one to ask. So
you are the expert, without a doubt.
there are probably very few people who would know better than me. But I don't know any of them. So if you know better than me, come talk to me. And we'll talk. We'll be friends.
I just want to give a shout out. You tweeted or something like a photo of you in every single buff you own.
Oh yeah.
Which was amazing.
That was actually on Facebook. I don't think I've tweeted those yet. I need to do that. But I did a count recently, and I own 73 out of the 107, I think is the number. So yeah, that's where we are. Season 34.
Here we go.
Let's talk about this cast, and let's talk about some of these individuals and these tribes, and it's going to be amazing. So let's start. I guess most recently, Millennials versus Gen X.
That's really organized.
Zeke and Michaela are back, and they're in a situation where they played their season and then they returned and they to play with the new cast for season 34, and so their season 33 hadn't aired before they went out to play a second time. So they're kind of so everybody's kind of in the dark on who Zeke and Michaela are. Do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage?
Advantage, totally.
Advantage?
Yeah, for both of them. Because, well, in terms of the esteem level compared to like some of the other people on this cast, I think their game-changing moves are not as high up there, in my opinion, compared to some of the other people. So,
right.
So I think the persona, like thinking that they're game changers, may give them an advantage. I think Michaela is definitely probably the most deadly compared to Zeke. Although Zeke played a great game. Totally.
I agree. Zeke played a great game. Michaela came out as a bit of a physical force early in the season. And we talked about that last season, how she was very dominant and could have been a challenge beast when it got down to the individual portion. Unfortunately, she never made it that far.
With them not having, they're totally an unknown. So, like, I think they can fly under the radar a little bit more, like, because people know what Tony does, for example.
Right.
And like Aussies, like the total competition beast. Like there are known quantities, known packages in this game. And Zeke and Michaela could fly under the radar a little bit and use their techniques, their tactics, a little more easily than a lot of the other players can. So, I definitely think it's an advantage.
I'd have to agree with you, and which kind of brings me. It's a nice segue because there are two other players who were in this situation beforehand, who have been in this situation previously on other seasons. One of them was Russell Hantz. Got to play his season, and then nobody got to watch his season before he was invited back to play again in Heroes versus Villains. But the other one is another guy who's on this season, Malcolm Freeberg. He got to play. He got to play in Survivor Philippines, and then was immediately invited back for Survivor Fans versus Favorites. And in the past, what Jeff has told us that he's told the castaways is that Russell, he's on the Villains tribe. Take it for what you will. Malcolm, he's back. He's a favorite. Take that for what you will. And that's what. And that's all you have to. That's all they had to go on, really. They're back, and they know that. They know that much.
Right.
So they know that they're a game changer, but they don't know what's going on. But Malcolm, he was a very big personality, and I really enjoyed watching Malcolm play.
And I got a lot from the video that they posted, PBS, like the intro video. Like, his personality really came out because he seemed really overly confident about himself. Like
he is.
The right word? Like I don't know, but and I don't remember him being that way in the game as much.
I agree with you, but I think that's partially because he's always kind of been an underdog. He's been on a losing tribe.
Right.
For his first season, he was on the only tribe to never win a challenge. And then in Karamoan, his second time around, yeah, he was in this blind spot where nobody knew who he was. They knew he was a favorite, but other than that, he was. I think for him, it may have been a bit of a disadvantage because the rest of the returning players didn't know him, and so he was kind of made out. He was kind of ended up aligning with the fans.
Yeah, I think he'll be an interesting one to watch this season, Malcolm, because I think he's a good player. Obviously, he has a lot of game and strategy, but he's also a little bit of an unknown in a way. Like his strengths, because like you pointed out, he was on the. They didn't win any challenges. Like I remember that season, he was like the complete underdog the whole time.
Yeah, his tribe did not win any of the 4 challenges that we competed in.
Yeah, he was like the Aussie that just couldn't pull it off in many ways.
That's a good comparison, I think. Yeah,
because he looked a lot like Ozzy too. I remember the first photo I saw, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Ozzy!" Then I looked again, and I was like, "Wait, who's that other one? He looks like Ozzy." Because they sort of have that same man bun.
Right. So let's keep moving. Let's keep moving backwards. And so let's talk about season 32, Koron. There are 4 players back.
And is that the most players from one season?
It is this season.
Yeah. The most back.
The most back this season from a single season. The previous record is actually 5. Yes, back in Survivor All Stars, there were 5 castaways returning from the Australian outback that season, and oddly enough, there were another 4 castaways from the first season. So neither really here nor there for this, but we've got Aubrey, Caleb, Debbie, and Ty.
Yeah.
So that's a significant group, and those are all big characters.
And very different in a way. I mean,
I
think Ty speaks for himself. Like, we know what that's all about.
Yeah. Ty's, a huge character, very out there, and I think Debbie's the same way.
I think so too, but I think Debbie will be more interesting to see how she plays the game differently, or if she does play the game differently. She was such a strong personality on her season.
She was. And
right? That's the thing about her.
Oh yeah. She is the female version of Coach.
Yeah, well, yes, in many ways. Totally.
But then we've got
Aubrey.
Aubrey, who was the runner-up of her season.
Yeah, Aubrey could be put in my category of Hannah as a question mark about game changers, in my opinion. I think Aubrey. How do you feel about that, Zach?
Well, I was among the school of thought that believed that Aubrey probably should have won Koron.
Yeah, possibly. Totally.
Nothing against Michelle at all. But what we saw from Aubrey was stronger strategic play. Whereas Michelle had a much more social game. So I actually feel like Aubrey and Hannah are in the same boat. They kind of had the season stolen from them.
Okay,
Like any other season, another season, they probably
they
could have won, should have won, but they just bad circumstances for them.
Yeah. So that leaves us with. So wait,
We talked a little bit about Ty, about Debbie.
Hi, Debbie, Aubrey, and
Caleb. Beast mode cowboy.
I'm going to throw it out there. I vote for Caleb. I like Caleb. I always have a little bit. I think it's my partiality to Big Brother and Caleb because he didn't.
So you watched him on Big Brother and see BB16.
Yeah, I liked him from Big Brother, so I was always kind of voting for him. And it's odd that I like Caleb because he's kind of he's known for beast mode, right? Like
beast mode cowboy. Yeah.
Yeah, cowboy. Blah 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 from Kentucky, and that's usually not somebody that I would vote for or like or be drawn to. However, I've always liked him, and I think he got evacuated out. It was unfortunate the way he left.
Yeah, it was, and so I'm kind of it puts the notion out there that maybe his return is a little bit out of pity. He was kind of taken out of the game, too early in unfortunate circumstances. He didn't ever have a chance to really play because he never got to go to a tribal council. He's among a few players this season who have not had their torches snuffed. But he's also the only one who actually never got to light his torch.
I think we should start a new section of this podcast called Fun Facts with Zach.
Fun facts. We do that anyway. It's called the podcast.
That's a great one.
Entire thing.
That's just a great one. Fun facts with Zach. Caleb is one of what would you say 3-4 players who has never had their torch.
Yeah, it's true. There are a handful of players this season who are coming into the season who haven't had their torches snuffed yet.
So up here in the little description, I think we should put fun facts with Zach.
Yeah.
That would be. Anyway, so back to Caleb. I like Caleb. I'm going to vote for him, or I'm going to root for him starting out.
Yeah, I hope he has a good game and a deep run. I think that I don't know what his chances of actually winning are, and I'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay,
because I've kind of talked about it on Twitter about who I think has the best chances are, but continuing on down the list of Survivor history, back from Survivor 31 is Jeff Varner. And this was kind of I guess a surprise to some people because he was voted out early again. Another player who left the game early, but showed a lot of strong personality.
Yeah, he's one of the ones when I saw his picture, I was like, oh yeah, I remember him, but I don't remember anything about him, like what he did in the game.
Let's see. I think the most significant thing he did in Cambodia was after the Anchor tribe lost the challenge. He started, talking, just mouthing words to former tribesmate Kelly Wigglesworth.
Yeah.
And then Tasha jumped in front of him and said, "We got a rat." So he's, I think that's probably what his significant contribution to Cambodia.
Right.
But he was very entertaining.
And he was also in Australia.
He was in Australia. He was
which Australia is a long time ago at this point.
It was a long time ago. That was 16 years.
Yeah. That's just interesting.
Yeah.
Because we don't have anybody from season 1, so is he the only season 2?
Yeah, he's
the oldest or the furthest back that we go.
Yeah, he's the furthest back that they're drawing from this season. Is season 2.
It's like he's it's on my phone right now. He's 50. If he was on season 2, that's like 20 years ago. Is that right?
It was, I believe, 16 years ago.
Okay, 16
was
that's
when.
Still a long time. He's a lot older than he was.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm glad he's getting this extra chance. It'd be nice if he could actually make the jury this time.
I don't think he will. He reminds me of a car salesman in a way.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I hate to give him a tough rap, but
okay.
I
kind of see it. Yeah.
He's got personality, like he tries to charm, and I don't know.
What I read that something he did before Cambodia was he read a book from the FBI about how to tell when people are lying to you.
Okay.
Which I thought was a little ingenious. I thought that was a great pre-game strategy. Was learn how to tell when people are telling you lies. That's perfect.
I agree. That's a great strategy. And a lot of, did you read through like on the CBS website or whatever, they have like photos of each of them, and like they had like 4 or 5 questions. And a lot of them said about, what have you prepared? I think one of the questions was like, what have you prepared to do? Or how are you going to play the game differently? Or what have you prepared to do? And I remember reading that about him, or a couple of them, said, oh, I've been watching past seasons to look at strategy, or, this or that. Or,
right.
However, I would ask, how many of them do you think practice making fire? Because that's always.
I think at this point.
Last season, because this is always the thing. If you're going to go in Survivor, what should you practice? Or what's the one thing you could do?
Well, 2 things, I think, is swimming and fire making.
Yeah, okay, swim. Yes, good skill. Fire.
So, but I think that's a moot point for this season, though. We can get on. I think we can get on the newbies more than we can returning players for swimming and fire making abilities. I think these guys probably have that down pat.
Something tells me, having watched enough Survivor seasons, that fire will still be a challenge.
Oh, it's always a factor. It's always a factor, for sure. So let's talk about the girls from season 30.
Okay.
Worlds Apart.
Nope.
No. Did you say no?
Oh no, I said yup.
Oh, okay. I heard. Okay, never mind.
A little bit of Hoosier for you.
So Haley Ford and Sierra Dawn Thomas.
Okay, so I have to admit, who is Haley? I don't remember her at all.
Haley is one of the younger girls, and I'm actually really excited to see Haley back. She was one of my favorites on Worlds Apart.
Really?
She was. She's just so adorable.
Okay. Yeah, she does look attractive. I agree. Adorable, cute. I just don't remember her at all. Haley was the one reading through, watching the video. I was like, who are you? I don't remember you at all.
That's believable. But I'm very excited to see her back. She was, like I said, she was one of my favorites on Worlds Apart. She was on the No Collar Tribe. She was one of the girls who went skinny dipping in the second episode, which for our show is significant.
I don't remember that at all. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, if you want to go back and watch one of her episodes, just for the In the Buff experience, watch episode 2 of Worlds Apart. That's where that was where we were really introduced to Jen and Haley and Max and Sheree. They were all in that group. There was a lot of nudity that season. So yeah. And then there's okay. So Haley was the first member of the jury on her season as well. I believe she named the merged tribe, Tribe America, which I can't stand that name, but anyway.
And they made that one themselves.
They always name the merged tribes themselves, yeah. But then we've got. Go ahead.
I said moving on.
Moving on to Sierra Dawn Thomas, the barrel racer from Utah. She's the rodeo girl. I think she's like 6'1", which I think will be very comparable to Michaela. And they're on opposite tribes too. So both tribes have a super tall, athletic female.
Well, I think you're bringing it up, and I don't mean to stereotype, but like we have a lot of females with strong personalities and physical strength.
Oh yeah.
Like I think like almost all of them, maybe one Andrea or what's her name? Yeah, Andrea. Like they're all pretty physical strengths compared to a lot of seasons. Because you always have, the girl who can't swim or whatever. And
right.
Because they're all played in the past and they've all been like a lot of, strategic, game changers. So all of them are some physical strengths, and I think that's going to play a significant role in this season compared to the other season.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up Andrea. I don't see. This seems like as good a time as any to talk about her. She played with Malcolm in Caramoan, and she played. She had to put up with Philip for 2 seasons.
Yeah, and I'm afraid I don't remember the specifics, but I feel like I would probably put her under the floater category. Like
under the floater category.
I don't know. I could be wrong because I don't remember the specifics.
You're wrong.
I know you hate floater, or you don't believe in Survivor floaters.
I don't, because
there are toad. Oh, I still disagree.
Yeah.
It is a big brother term, I agree.
No,
but
Andrea is Andrea. I feel is actually a very strong strategic threat to this game. She's and she said in one of her interviews that the thing she wants to change this season from her past seasons is no showmances.
Yeah,
Because apparently that's gotten her in a little bit of trouble.
yeah, that was in, I think, the little question and answer thing that she had. And a lot of them, I think that's the other interesting thing. Reading the interviews and stuff that they all put out there is like, a lot of them are coming into this game like balls to the walls, so to speak. You know, they're not just coming to have fun or to be on a show. They're coming to play. I'm serious about this.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So I think it's going to be interesting how that dynamic plays out, because other players who showed up not having played, like Tony, for example, you know, he was balls to the walls to begin with.
Oh, he was so. Tony. You know,
I think he's going to be voted out first. Like,
Tony,
the first chance he gets, he's gone. I don't care. Like, what kind of a liar? Or that's one of my predictions.
every interview I've watched so far, everybody is gunning for Tony. Everybody is so afraid of Tony. So yeah, Tony has the biggest target on his back, I think. And so we'll see how far he makes it. But in so let's look at Tony, since he's next up. I know you found 3 idols this season. Didn't play a single one of them correctly. He found the original Super Idol. The idol. At the time we called it the idol with special powers, or the quote unquote Tyler Perry idol. Because apparently the idea came from Tyler Perry.
It still surprises me that Tony won this season, right?
When it got down to the top 4 that season, I knew that it was either going to be Spencer or Tony, because they were the best players. That they were the best players on camera that season. I knew Wu didn't have a chance. I don't know what Wu was doing in Cambodia.
Right. And I was a Spencer fan back in that day.
I was a huge Spencer fan.
In fact,
I was rooting for Spencer the whole way.
Shout out to Spencer. He was a good player.
Spencer was a very good player. He's very underrated. He grew a lot in Cambodia, I think.
Yeah.
He was able to change his game a little bit. Just another case of unfortunate circumstances at Final Tribal when he didn't get any votes.
True. So back to Tony though, I don't think he has a chance.
No, I don't think he has a chance.
Why is under the radar for a few weeks or a few tribal councils? Because you can always vote him out later. Like, I think he'll fall under it. I think he could fall under that category of, oh, everybody doesn't like Tony, or we know him, what he's all about. So he'll be like, oh, we'll get him out later, but let's focus on him, or if he's in like some alliance. But no way that he makes it to the end.
Yeah, I think Tony's probably the number 1 threat this season. People have their eye on Tony. So I'll be interested to see if he can actually survive the first episode.
Which would be a success.
It would. But we've got another person back from Survivor Cagayan. The other cop, actually, Miss Sarah Lestina. And I hope I'm saying her name right, but I'm pretty sure that's how it. Sarah was the other cop, a member of the Tony Sarah Cops R Us Alliance, but she ended up being the first member of the jury on her season as well.
She was an underrated player in a way, because she got out like she made it, and it just didn't line up for her.
Yeah. it got to the point for Sarah, I believe, where she was being offered um, a choice and she wouldn't decide. And so that's what ended up being her downfall. And so it's, critical in Survivor that you have to make up your mind. You have to make a decision and you have to say, we're doing this.
Right, and on her little post with the questions on CBS, she says, "I'm more cutthroat now," is one of her answers to the questions. And the other thing, she says, "I will do whatever it takes to win." So I think her mental state has probably changed. So I think she could be, especially of the female contenders, I think she could be a real threat.
I think so too. I think I think she's one of the players that I think could potentially go all the way if she makes the right changes to her game.
Totally.
Okay, so continuing our trek backwards through Survivor history, season 27, Blood versus Water, gave us two fantastic characters.
Did we talk about Zeke?
Sorry?
Did we talk about Zeke?
We did talk about Zeke. He was like the first person we talked about. Zeke and Michaela.
Oh, right. We did. Sorry. Just going backwards. Sorry.
Okay.
I forgot.
All right.
I like Zeke.
Are we clear now?
I like Zeke.
I like Zeke too.
Next to Caleb, I think I vote for Zeke. So. But if we play that game, we can.
We'll work on that.
We'll work on.
But season 27, Blood versus Water, gave us two more big characters. One is played. This is our third time now, Ciara Easton, and the other is Brad Culpepper, who is actually a household favorite here.
Really?
He is, and there are. There's really one big reason for that, and it's because he went to the University of Florida, and so did my parents. Both of my parents went to the University of Florida. My dad was a cheerleader at the University of Florida. Brad played football at the University of Florida. That's it. He's going to be the household favorite here.
And let me look it up. He lives in Tampa now, right?
Yeah.
Or that's where.
Yes, and he's actually practicing law, which is another thing that he and
what your dad does, right, or something.
My dad and my brother are both lawyers.
Nice. Okay. No wonder. Fine.
So, as much as as much as most dislike Brad for, I think he comes across a little, I don't know, maybe a little arrogant or bossy, or I'm not entirely sure. But
I don't remember all that much about Brad Culpepper, but I remember I don't like him because he rubs me the wrong way. And I think it's for those exact reasons that you just pointed out.
But regardless of those things, he's still entertaining to watch as a Survivor fan. So I'll put that out there.
Maybe.
So what are thoughts on Ciara? We didn't talk about Ciara very much. She was able to force only the second rock draw in Survivor history on Blood versus Water.
Right, and she's pretty.
She is. I'm actually kind of over that, but whatever. She's in my opinion, she's not the prettiest girl on this cast. That's what I'll say. She is a beautiful woman, but she's not even in the top two.
Well, I think that should be a category too of our game.
Oh gosh.
Anyways, moving on.
Moving on. Okay, so
we should objectify them. So,
yeah.
Is this?
Um,
I have little feelings about Sierra, to be honest. I don't remember her that well. I think she falls in that category of girls who are in it to win it this season.
oh yeah.
And it totally surprised me in a lot of ways.
She was. She earned. I think she earned the nickname within the Survivor community, at least the fan community, of Big Move Sierra, because that's what all she wanted to do. That's all she wanted in Cambodia was for people to play the game and make big moves.
Right.
She got her wish and she was voted out.
And if she tempers that a little bit with some of the other, like if she aligns with other girls or her tribe or whatever, like there are some tough contenders out there if they learn from their experiences in the past. Like we have no idea what could happen at this point.
Right. We've got some idea of what'll happen. We know a little bit of, or maybe I do. Maybe I know a little bit more than you do. But I know a couple of the twists are going to be that are upcoming. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. Let's see. Moving on. Continuing.
We're almost done.
We're almost done. Almost done. Next, going backwards, we kind of jumped out of order to talk about Andrea and Malcolm, who are both from 25, 26, and 22. So let's move on to our representative from season 24, Survivor One World, Troyzan.
No opinions.
No opinion? Really? No opinion.
Strong opinion for or against.
Interesting.
I remember his name, Troyzan. That's about all I remember about him from that season. Because it was that was a great name, and he had like a lot of personality. But I don't think there was a lot behind that.
No, Troyzan has kind of, earned the unfortunate reputation of being somewhat of a misogynist and maybe a little bit egotistical. Just because of his behavior. I think mostly because of his behavior on One World. I could be wrong. There could be more to it than that. I haven't paid that much of attention to his.
I think the Troyzan, like, they made a bigger deal about Troyzan than, in my opinion, than he really was in the game. That was my initial reaction to like seeing him on the season, and he's also kind of the token old guy. Yeah,
well, he is the.
I don't know if he's the oldest, but he's definitely close to it.
He's the oldest this season at 54.
The other guy, Jeff Varner.
Varner's in his 50s.
Yeah, he's close. He's close to the older guy too. But
let's see. I think the four oldest this season are Troy, Ty, Debbie, and Varner. Those are the 3 50-year-olds.
Oh, that's right. Ty's kind of
4 too. Yeah. Those four are all in their 50s. Just recapping how Troy's game from One World, he was put in a position where he was on a tribe with all men, which for a little bit it kind of worked for him, but then it got to the merge and the men were 6 and the women were 6, and the brilliant Kim Spradlin went to town and just started eliminating all the men. They just completely obliterated the men from that season. And unfortunately, Troy was on the receiving end of that, and there wasn't anything he could do about it. And so it came out as a little bit of a temper tantrum because that was his, competitive nature. He did win 2 immunity necklaces, but when he was voted out, he was upset, and you could tell. So Troy's got a bit of a reputation there. When the season first aired, I was a big Troy Zane fan, and I was rooting for him from the start of the season. I'm not sure what grabbed me other than the fact I think I was just starting Twitter then, and I think he followed me right before the season started or something like that. So that's why I was a Troy fan.
Do you remember a time before Twitter?
Not really. It's been I've been on it for a few years, and I can't recall what life was like before Twitter.
It's hard to predict.
Yeah.
Do you remember a life before it? You probably don't, because you're like a couple years younger. Do you remember a life before internet? It's crazy. Think about it.
It's I've had Twitter and Facebook and MySpace for
MySpace. Wow.
Yeah, there's a reference for you. Let's see.
Back Dakota on MySpace.
You can if we want to go back even further, I remember having a Zanga back in back in 2003 or 2004.
Oh, that's really throwing it back there.
That is.
Fun. Although, can you remember a life before Survivor?
That honestly,
that's hard. That's hard
because I remember when the first show first started, and I came in one night after some church function, I think, and
it was on Sunday nights, right?
Yeah, and my family was watching it, and I sat down to watch it, and I immediately started rooting for Jervis, the very first season.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, he was eliminated, a couple episodes after I started watching it. But I got into it then, and I watched it through All Stars. I got out of it for a while, but then I was actually drawn back after I broke my leg and was kind of house stuck, and so all I could do was kind of sit around and watch TV, and so I watched Survivor and Boston Rob's on my TV again, and it was great. So now I got to. So it was really, as much as people don't like Redemption Island as a season, that's the one that brought me back. So
how interesting! And you broke your leg. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, this was it's a story from 6 years ago. I broke it, just playing basketball. Let's keep moving on. Let's see, who have we not talked about?
We haven't got to Sandra. I think we're almost.
I'm kind of holding off on Sandra.
We haven't really,
because we've got some big names still to talk about, and I think
like Sandra.
I think the next one we need to talk about is JT.
Right. Oh yeah, he's another cutie. JT QT. In my opinion.
So JT is one of our 3 former winners.
And we have a lot of former winners.
We've got three former winners from four past seasons. I think that's it. That's usually a
2-time winner, right? Sandra is a 2-time winner.
Right. We'll talk about Sandra in just a few minutes.
Yeah, but that's going to be
we're gonna talk about JT right now. JT played in Survivor Token Chains, which is, um, and he was the first player to play a quote perfect game. And by that I mean he went through the game without getting a single vote cast against him. And then he got to Final Tribal Council and he got every vote. So I think that was his big contribution was, he showed that it's possible to play a perfect game.
And I think he's one of the most well-liked winners ever.
I totally agree with you. And season 18, Token Chains, is probably still like one of my favorite seasons of all time. It yield, especially among new player seasons, but it brought us, so many good characters from the show, including JT, Fishback, Coach, Tyson, and those are just the players who returned. There's a few others who I'd love to see back again at some point. But it's such a great season. And JT was just flawless. And then he was invited back for Heroes and Villains, and he played the exact opposite. And it was bad because he made probably what was considered one of the dumbest moves in Survivor history, which is giving away an idol to Russell Hantz. You don't do that.
So speaking of Russell Hantz, I am so glad we don't have another Hantz family member to deal with.
Yeah. On that note,
I think we're over that. Hopefully, we never have to deal with that again.
Maybe it's possible. I don't know, but on that note, we saw Russell and Brandon play 5 times. So we saw between the two of them, they played 5 times. So we've also seen, but that's been matched by the Moret family, Laura and Sierra, who are mother and daughter, have now played 5 times this season.
Right.
So that's the interesting fun fact with Zach.
That is totally that is like the next section of our next podcast. Fun facts.
So, but I prefer to just throw them out there as we go.
ETZ with Zach. Totally. Fun fact with Zach.
So, what do you think of JT's chances?
Well, so he was kind of young back in the day, right? So how old is he now?
Right. He's 31, and I think it's been about almost 8 years since he played his first time.
Yeah, that was my only thought about JT. I remember him being like the young guy on that season or whatever, or a young player. And he's not as young comparatively. Although I think on this season he's still one of the younger guys.
Well, a lot of the guys are very middle of the road this season as far as like age. We don't have I think.
Yeah, they're kind of all 30 years old.
I think the youngest guy, I'm looking at the list, and I actually think the youngest male is Caleb at 28.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so.
He's older. Yeah, you're right. Caleb's 28. You're totally right. And Ozzy's like 32.
34.
Yeah.
So let's let's talk about
Oh
Ozzy
no. Ozzy.
and
Yeah.
Suri. Because
Oh, yeah.
Ozzy and Suri played together in Micronesia.
Yep.
And that was where kind of we saw more of Ozzy's personality and the way he can be not as much of a team player.
Yeah, so you're not a big Ozzy fan.
I'm not a big Ozzy fan. And so
Ozzy is a beast, though. Like, let's just
he
play it out there.
is. He
Let's
is.
put it out
And
there.
he kind of I'm not happy he's back. Let's see, Ozzy.
I don't think Ozzy has a chance either, to be honest.
No.
Like I kind of like Ozzy. Like I remember him back in the day, and I liked him. He was such a beast at swimming. Like talking about being able
He's
to.
definitely that.
Was that his first season or one of those others? Like
he's played 3 times before.
There was one season where literally like every challenge they had to swim, and Ozzy was like the only person that could swim.
Yeah.
Well,
Survivor Cook Islands was his first season, and that was where he tied the record for most individual immunity wins in a season by a single player. For a single season, he won 5 of the. He actually won 5 out of 6 individual immunities that season. Then his next appearance was in Micronesia for Fans versus Favorites, and he played with Suri and with several others who appeared that season and in later seasons. Let's see who else. But he found an immunity idol that season. He didn't win any individual challenges, but he did find the hidden immunity idol, and he was blindsided with it in his pocket.
So you bring up the immunity idols. I think for some of these players, and Ozzy may be one of them, because they haven't played like in the most recent seasons with the hidden immunity idols and like searching them out and ponies and people. Like, I think that difference in the game, like how it's evolved, could be a total game changer for some of these people. And they may. So 2 ways. Maybe Ozzy will come in and just search for them and find them all, or they're totally going to be left behind, right? Like,
it's possible.
You know what?
I
think that's very different from some of the original season, the older cast members or who played it in earlier season. Because we've talked about it, how the game has evolved and the whole immunity idol situation and all that stuff. Because it's really changed how some of the initial or the earlier seasons were played.
Yeah. So we've also got Suri, who played with Ozzy in Micronesia, and what do you think about Suri? She turned out to be a very strategic player.
She did. She's a powerhouse female contender, I think, in the season. It'll be interesting, and how the tribes lay out, because we've seen the 2 tribes that they start with, at least. It'll be interesting to see if there is a female alliance, or like how they pair off, because someone like Suri and like there are a lot of really strong female players this season. So I could totally see like that. You talked about they like totally ganged up against the boys and voted them all out. you know,
Yeah.
like it was just a no-go. So,
And Cerie's been a part of an all-woman alliance before.
and I think that could very likely happen, especially with all these people. And we haven't even got to Sandra. So,
But now's as good a time as any because she's the last person we have to talk about.
exactly. So if
Sandra
voted
won.
out first, Sandra is going to be voted out second, or the other way around.
I think I would probably agree with you. You know, she's such a huge threat, and it's so confusing as to how to handle that because you know she's not going to really help you in challenges from if she plays the same way she's played in the past. You know, she's not going to be a huge help in challenges for tribes at the tribe level.
Well, Sandra's a great player. I've always been a little confused at like how she actually wins. Like how people end up voting for her or like her. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people hate Ty, for example, for obvious reasons because he flip-flopped and you know he wasn't blah blah blah. But Sandra was just as bad, but everybody would like vote for her and end up giving her the game twice, right?
Okay, so in Pearl Islands, you know, Sandra's entire strategy is just make it to the merge, play an excellent social game, and then I don't know if she planned this or not, but she ends up sitting at the finals with somebody nobody likes.
Okay.
Because I didn't really remember Sandra when I finally went back and watched Heroes versus Villains. I didn't remember her at all, which is horrible to say about a former winner. But you know, when I went back and rewatched Pearl Islands then again, you know, I remember, she sat next to Lil at Final Tribal Council, and that season was the first time that everybody had to jump off the boat in the clothes they were wearing. And Lil had the unfortunate distinction of wearing a Boy Scouts of America uniform, which gave everybody else these preconceived notions of the kind of person that she was, and made it so that she couldn't play the game the way she wanted and be perceived as a game player. So Sandra ended up winning because she played a more likable social game, whereas Lil played a little bit more of a devious actual survivor game. And that's pretty much what happened in Heroes versus Villains as well. Sandra got herself into a good alliance early, which got her to the merge. But when it came down, and then when it got down to the individual challenge, she wasn't a threat, so they didn't vote her out because they had no reason to. So she ended up sitting in the finals with Russell and Parvati. And Russell picked those two players to go to the end with because they were both winners, and he didn't think anybody would vote for a former winner to win again.
Right.
But Russell's social game was so horrid that nobody was going to vote for Russell.
Oh no, of course not.
So
I think Sandra. No, I mean you've renewed her. She's a good player. Like she's done great things in the
past. But her strategy has worked for her. That's the thing. And so when a strategy works for you twice and you win twice, you have to actually look for it. You have to.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't say.
It worked for her on 2 different seasons, which are very different from this season. I agree. I don't.
This season is going to be very different.
No, she's really going to have to reinvent herself in a way.
I will say this. When Blood versus Water was going on, and I don't remember whether I found this out pre-game or post-game, but Tyson said that he went into the game trying to play. He modeled his game for Blood versus Water after Sanders' game, and he won. So when you've got 3 sole survivors who have modeled after one strategy, you've got to take something. You can't count that out.
Maybe. I guess we'll have to see. I think Sandra may be a wild card with these other players.
The thing is that now this season people are going to be looking for it. She's coming in with that target, just like Tony is.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more cutthroat. Like there. So day one, there's no beating around the bush because they've all played before.
Right.
And I guess we've had that with All-Stars or whatever, but I think this season in particular, because these are people who are game changers.
Yeah, these are all
these are people
major players with big personalities who have done
and all
great
been
things.
jury members, right? I think.
Say that again.
I think they've all been jury members and/or winners.
Let me see, because that's not actually accurate.
It's close. There's only a couple.
It is Caleb, Michaela.
Oh yeah,
Varner.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's it. Caleb, Michaela, and Varner are the only 3 who have never been on the jury, who never made it to the jury stage of the game.
Interesting.
So that's where we are on that. We've talked about the cast. Let's talk about a little bit about the twist. We've talked about Hidden Immunity Idols. Hidden Immunity Idols are going to be back this season, but they're not going to have a kind of a themed way of delivering them. Jeff said that they've got a kind of a list of different ways to hide idols. One may be like a traditional, you find it in the woods. Another may be hidden at a challenge. One may just fall into your lap one day. That's kind of what they've talked. What he said is that they're going. Each idol will be hidden a different way.
You know what I would like to see? I don't like all the hidden idols. I would prefer to see a more traditional game, especially with a cast like this. I don't know how you feel, but
I think as fans, that's what people, the diehards that want to see that. But I think so I understand. On the opposite end of the spectrum, though, they have CBS and Survivor have to keep things interesting and keep things fast paced and lots of boom boom boom, because that's what people are being drawn to right now as far as TV goes. They've got to keep things interesting and keep changing it up. I like the Hidden Immunity Idols because I think they add an extra level of strategy to the game. because you have to be aware of, well, are we voting this person out? Do we think they might have an idol? Do we need to split the votes? Do I tell them that they're going to be voted out? Because if I do and they have an idol, then they're going to play it and somebody else is going to help.
Okay, so if you're on Survivor, like you're in sight.
And I'm still waiting for the call, by the way.
And as you should be. I hope you get that call. But let's say you get to on scene set in random island in the middle of the tropics. What kind of player would you be? Are you going to look for the idols? Without, are you going to be a Tony? Are you a Tony?
I'm definitely not a Tony. That's not my personality. I think that I would be kind of a mixture of Max and Vetus.
Oh, Vetus and artist. Yeah. Okay.
And you remember Max, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Yeah, I think a combination of Max and Vetus would be who I would be on Survivor.
I was going to say, I think last season there was a nice mix with David and Adam with searching for the idols. Like, they looked for them and they played them strategically, but it wasn't like the end-all be-all.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see if we see more of that this season, where players are, playing idols for other people, which we've seen is a valid and useful strategy.
Very useful, actually. I think that's the next evolution. So they're going to. I think Tony.
It'll be interesting. I think we'll see.
To me, yeah, I don't think Tony has, and the way he played that game, finding all the idols and searching for them and all that stuff. I don't think that has any relevance in this game. Like, it's evolved since then.
I agree, and I think it'll be interesting to see who finds the idols this season, since we don't know how they're going to end up being hidden, and players aren't necessarily know what to look for, whether they're going to be at a challenge or whether they're going to stick their hand in the tree and pull an idol out. It could be, it could happen at any moment, and the most unlikely people can find an idol. We've seen that before. The other twist this season that we know of so far, they're bringing back the expansion tribe. So we know that after 2 episodes, they're going to switch from 2 tribes to 3 tribes.
Oh, okay.
So that's happening again, which is a twist that I absolutely love.
Because you get to order another buff.
That's only part of it. That's part of it. But I like I like that twist because it gives Survivor a valid reason to switch tribes back to 2 tribes at some point, which one switch is hard to deal with as a new player. But when you're a returning player, I like these returning player seasons having 2 tribe switches. That keeps changing things up and really messes with the pre-game alliances that may be going on. So I'm looking forward to that.
You just brought up an interesting point. Alliance.
Yeah, pre-game alliances have been happening since All Stars.
That's a thing. Yeah.
And we can talk a little bit more about that on our next show. I think we need to schedule. I think we need to be wrapping this up. So do you have somebody that you would like to pick as a pre as your pre-game winner pick, who do you think is going to win this season? Based solely on this cast.
I have two. So I would like to see Caleb do really well because I kind of like Caleb. I don't know why. I think Sarah, right?
Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah could be a real
interesting.
Like, total or random draw. I think Sarah could be a real contender.
That's interesting.
Like a random sort of like no reason, but she's the random female strategy. Like I think she could really just like fly in there.
So you're going with Sarah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting because I was also going to go with Sarah.
No way.
Yeah.
We usually very disagree.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I think when we get to.
I also think Sarah, because of the female cast members, like she's the least strongest personality, maybe. Well, Andrea, or is that her name, right? The blonde girl. Maybe, but she's totally a flip, in my opinion. And I think Sarah is the mix between those, and she can play all those sides, and interesting.
Interesting, very interesting. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick Sarah as well. I think she's got the best chance of the players that I think have a chance to win. So yeah, that's why I picked Sarah. So do we want to have another show next week and maybe have a fantasy draft, you think?
Let's flesh out the fantasy draft. But yeah, maybe.
I think I can get it fleshed out by next week.
Okay.
It's just a matter of do you want to do it next week or do you want to put it off another week?
Up to you. Let's see.
Let's go ahead and do it next week since we've got plenty of time.
Let's do it next week because I think after that I'm going to be gone 1 week or not available. So yeah,
okay.
Next week.
So next week then, fantasy draft in the buff. Be there, be square. Sarah is the unanimous pick to win. Surprisingly, yeah. So we will see you next week then. And as always, just remember that clothing is always optional, but nudity is never required. And we are out.